Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I should have known something was off the minute she said, "I'll meet you there." We always arrive together at these parties, but that night, Josephine wanted a separate entrance. It was Liam's birthday, our mutual friend from work, and he'd rented out the rooftop of this downtown hotel. Real upscale, string lights, jazz band, waiters floating around with trays. I got there early, grabbed a drink, nodded at a few people, kept it casual. 15 minutes later, she walked in. And she didn't walk in alone. Josephine was wearing this dark green dress she knew I liked, but her arm was locked around another man's. Daniel. I recognized him immediately. Tall, smug, finance type. She had mentioned him once or twice from her job. Just a coworker, she said. I remember that clearly now. They walked in like they owned the place. Laughing, whispering, standing too close. Everyone saw it. The music didn't stop, but the air shifted. Conversations slowed, eyes turned. Some people tried not to stare. Others didn't bother. Josephine didn't look at me right away. She made sure to greet everyone else first, laughing too loudly, brushing her hand down Daniel's arm like it was nothing. Then she saw me. Her expression didn't even change. No guilt, no apology. Just that blank, confident stare that dared me to react. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I stayed where I was, sipping my drink, watching her put on the show. People were already whispering. I caught bits and pieces. Is that Daniel from her office? Where's Steve? Oh God, he's right there. She finally walked over, Daniel still by her side. Steve, she said like we were casual coworkers. Didn't expect you to be here so early. I smiled politely. Didn't expect you to bring a +1. Daniel offered a smug half nod like he belonged there. Josephine just shrugged, sipping her wine. Well, you know how these things are. Yeah, I knew exactly how these things were. And I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I didn't blow up. I didn't cause a scene. That's what Josephine wanted. A spectacle. Instead, I looked around the room, scanning faces. That's when I saw her. Lena. She was standing near the far wall, holding a glass of something untouched, watching her husband wrap his arm around my wife like they were on a honeymoon. Her face was still. Too still. She looked like she hadn't blinked in minutes. I walked straight over, no hesitation. Lena, I said quietly, just enough for her to hear me. Her eyes met mine, wide, unsure. Steve? You shouldn't be standing here alone, I said. Come with me. She didn't answer right away. Just looked past me, toward Daniel and Josephine. Then, back at me. Something shifted in her face. She gave me the faintest nod and slipped her hand into mine. That was the moment. Heads started turning before we even reached the center of the room. The band was playing something slow and smooth. I didn't say anything flashy. I just leaned close and asked, "Do you want to dance?" She hesitated, gave a breath of a laugh like she couldn't believe what was happening, and said, "Yes." We stepped onto the floor. And the energy shifted again. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But people noticed. People who had just been laughing at Josephine's bold little parade were now turning to us. Whispers started again, but they felt different. Curiosity, not mockery. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just knew Josephine expected me to stay frozen in place. She never saw this coming. As we danced, Lena's posture began to relax. The corners of her mouth lifted into something that looked almost like relief. I didn't grip her hand tight. I didn't need to. From across the room, I could feel Josephine watching. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel like the one being betrayed. I felt like the one taking the story back. We didn't do anything dramatic, just a slow, steady rhythm to the music. But it was enough. People started watching, and not in a scandal-hungry way. More like surprise, intrigue. Maybe even respect. I could feel the shift without anyone saying a word. Lena moved with a quiet grace. You could tell she hadn't danced in a long time, but she followed my lead without hesitation, like she needed something to hold on to, and I didn't let go. A few feet away, Josephine was frozen, still holding Daniel's arm but not smiling anymore. Her eyes tracked every step we made. Daniel leaned into her. I couldn't hear what he said, but Josephine's jaw clenched. They both looked like they'd lost track of their plan. Meanwhile, we just kept moving. When the song ended, There was a small ripple of applause. Nothing huge, just a few claps here and there. But it was real. It was enough to make Josephine shift uncomfortably, like she'd just been upstaged at her own performance. I offered Lena a calm smile and guided her off the floor. A few people came up to us, some coworkers, a couple of mutual acquaintances. Nothing big, just polite nods, compliments about the dance, comments like, "Nice to see you both," the kind of small talk that carried weight. People were choosing where to stand, and it wasn't with Josephine. She tried to laugh louder, tried to pull Daniel into conversation with a nearby group, but they barely glanced at her. One woman even turned her back. I watched Josephine feel it, that creeping discomfort of a spotlight slipping away. Lena leaned toward me and whispered, "Did you plan that?" "No," I said, "but I'm not mad it's happening." She smiled again. Not wide, not dramatic. Just that tired kind of smile that comes when something finally makes sense. And across the room, Josephine, still gripping a half-full glass she hadn't touched, was watching it all fall apart. I barely had time to take a sip of water before Daniel stormed over. He didn't bother with greetings. "What exactly are you trying to do?" he said through his teeth, his voice low but tight. "You're making this a scene." I turned, calm as ever. "Daniel, you walked in with my wife. You already made it a scene. I just joined the dance floor." His jaw flexed. "You're being petty." "No," I said, my voice sharper now. "I'm being present." Lena stepped up beside me. "You have some nerve," she said, looking straight at him. "Dragging me to a party, telling me you had to leave early for work, and then showing up like this." Daniel looked like he'd swallowed broken glass. Josephine appeared a few seconds later, grabbing his arm. "What's going on?" she asked, already irritated. Her eyes flicked to me, then Lena. Daniel muttered, "They're trying to stir things up." I tilted my head. "No need. You did that on your own." Josephine stepped forward, lips tight. "Are you enjoying this? Embarrassing me in front of everyone?" I didn't flinch. "You embarrassed yourself the second you decided this party was your stage. I just didn't let you write the script." A couple nearby guests tried to act like they weren't listening, but no one was hiding it well. Josephine tugged at Daniel's sleeve. "Let's go." But he didn't move. Not right away. He glanced at Lena, then at me, and for a second I saw it. The crack. The panic. They weren't a team. Not anymore. They were just two people caught mid-lie with no exit strategy. Josephine hissed, "Come on," and pulled Daniel toward the drinks table, leaving a trail of stiff silence behind. Lena looked up at me. "That felt good," she said softly. "It wasn't even the best part yet," I replied, because I could already see the end of this story. And it wasn't going to be theirs. Josephine and Daniel tried to save face. After their awkward exit from our confrontation, they made one last attempt to reclaim the spotlight. The band switched to something upbeat, and like clockwork, Josephine dragged Daniel onto the dance floor. It should have worked. She was still beautiful, dressed for attention, but everything about them looked forced. Their steps didn't match. She laughed too loudly at things he didn't even say. Daniel looked stiff, distracted, constantly glancing around the room. No one clapped. No one watched. Well, almost no one. A few people stared, but not in admiration. They looked uncomfortable, like watching a bad audition. Josephine spun once and stumbled slightly. Daniel tried to catch her wrist, but it was too late. A guy near me muttered, "Yikes," under his breath. I stood beside Lena, calm, steady. "They look ridiculous," she said. "Not smug, just tired." "They expected a crowd," I replied, "but the room's already moved on." The song ended without fanfare. Josephine's chest was rising fast, her smile barely holding. They stepped off the floor to silence, and that was when she made her final move. She came straight toward me. "Steve," she said too loudly, "can we talk? Alone?" I didn't move. "You can say whatever you need to say right here." Her eyes darted between me and Lena. "Seriously?" I nodded. "You walked in here with Daniel like it was some grand entrance. Don't act shy now." Her voice dropped, but the edge stayed. "You're humiliating me." I took a slow breath. "Josephine, you humiliated yourself. I just stopped covering for you." That landed. She blinked fast, lips parting like she had a comeback ready. But nothing came out. Daniel stood a few feet away, pretending not to watch, but failing miserably. He looked as lost as she did. A small group nearby had stopped pretending. They were listening openly now. Josephine realized it too. Her hand curled into a fist at her side. She turned away without another word and walked back to Daniel. But the power was gone, and this time, no one followed. After another half hour of pretending to socialize, Lena leaned toward me and said quietly, "I need air." "Come on," I said. "Let's get out of here for a bit." We stepped off the rooftop and took the back stairwell down to the courtyard. Quieter, dimly lit, mostly empty. The party buzz still floated up from above, but out here, the noise faded. Lena leaned against the railing, arms folded. "I kept telling myself it wasn't what I thought it was," she said. "Late nights, sudden business trips, the way he started checking his phone in the bathroom, I wanted to believe he was just tired." I nodded. I knew something was wrong months ago. Just kept hoping I wasn't right. We stood in silence for a moment. I hadn't planned to make a statement that night, but seeing her standing there alone while they acted like we didn't exist, I couldn't let that be the story. She glanced at me, calm now, said I gave her a way to hold her head up, that she probably couldn't have done it alone. I told her she could have. Maybe she just needed someone next to her. She smiled, small, real. We found a bench under the lights and sat down. The breeze had picked up. It felt easier to breathe out there. She said it wasn't the night she expected. I said same. I'd even brought a whole speech in my head. Some dramatic monologue. Never used it. She laughed and said she was glad. I agreed. The dance said enough. We didn't talk much after that. We didn't need to. We just sat for a while, breathing, processing. I walked her to her car. She turned before getting in. "Whatever happens next," she said, "thank you for letting me be seen tonight." "You were always there," I said. "They just tried to keep us in the background." Then she drove off, and I went home alone, completely steady. The next morning she let herself in. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard the front door swing open like it was still her house. Josephine marched in like she had something to win. She didn't even wait. "You embarrassed me," she snapped, dropping her purse on the counter. "Last night was supposed to be simple, civil, and you turned it into a show." I didn't answer right away. I poured the coffee slowly, set the mug down on the table, and then looked her in the eye. "No," I said. "You turned it into a show the second you walked into that party with Daniel on your arm like a trophy." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't do that. Don't flip this around like you're innocent. You were dancing like a damn contestant on a reality show." I raised an eyebrow. "And you were acting like your marriage was already over. Turns out you were right." She blinked. Just once. But it was enough. "You don't get to act like the victim here, Steve," she hissed. "I'm not," I said, my voice flat. "I'm just done playing the fool." She opened her mouth again, but I didn't let her interrupt. "For months you lied. You thought if you kept smiling through it, I'd keep pretending. You were half right." She folded her arms, trying to recover. "You're blowing this out of proportion. People will forget what they saw." "No, they won't," I said. "Because what they saw wasn't just you cheating. They saw you lose." That hit her harder than anything I'd said before. She went quiet, her face frozen for a beat too long. Then she grabbed her purse, turned on her heel, and walked out. No slamming door this time, just silence. And that silence wasn't heavy. It was clean. That night had played in my head more times than I expected. Not because I regretted anything, I didn't, but because for the first time in a long time I saw it all clearly. The party, the walk-in, the dance. It wasn't revenge. It was correction. Josephine had tried to humiliate me in a room full of people who knew us, co-workers, friends, a few family members. She counted on me shrinking. She counted on Daniel being enough of a distraction to rewrite the story. But stories only work when people buy them. And by the end of the night, no one was buying what she and Daniel were selling. Lena texted me that afternoon. "Thanks again for last night. I needed that more than I thought." I didn't say much in return. Just same. We hadn't made any promises. There was no big emotional ending. We didn't need one. We both knew what last night was, a line drawn in the middle of a room, and we stepped over it together. The next morning, I filed for divorce. Not out of anger, not even out of grief, just clarity. I stepped outside for a walk around dusk. The streets were quiet, cool air, soft light, and for once, my head wasn't buzzing. No more second guessing. No more mental chess with someone who'd already decided the rules didn't apply to her. Josephine used to say I was too calm in the face of conflict, that I never made a scene, never fought hard enough. But the truth is, I was never afraid of conflict. I was just waiting for the moment it mattered. And last night, it did. A single dance in the middle of a party told the whole truth, not just about her betrayal, but about what came after, how she lost the room, how she lost control, how she lost me, and how I didn't need to scream to win. I just needed to let her finally see what it looked like when I stopped standing in the shadows. That was the night Josephine tried to humiliate me. But all anyone remembered was the dance. Thank you for watching.